Q&O. Wow, Q&A, episode 7. And I forget the order. Oh, yeah. This will come out before next week's roundtable. Darren's not here with us today. He's in Cabo. He's got his feet kicked up, sipping on we won't use the same jokes, but he's sipping on some girly drinks, we'll say. Yeah. So we got Tyler filling in his spot today.
I apologize in advance. If you are disappointed, so am I. I wouldn't want to listen to me either.
And I'll say some of these questions I'll answer as well, but the first one specifically is just for Tyler. But yeah, Tyler's jumping in. We had some questions for him, and I think this will be fun. You ready to roll?
Yes, let's go.
You're in the hot seat today.
Woo!
Question 1, and this was asked last week, I believe, and you weren't here, and I was so upset that you weren't here because it was a hilarious question that Darren answered, and you'll see why in a second. Alexandros Pesiridis. So, Alexandros, you get twice to be featured on the show. Congratulations. And I think you'll see why, Tyler. 2-yard line. Tyler gets the ball for a fullback dive and runs straight at you, meaning Darren. Do you stop him from scoring, or does he get in? So I guess to rephrase the question, Tyler, you have the ball on the 2-yard line. Darren's in the hole, about to fit the gap. What happens?
All right. So I've got some clarifying questions. Is this Tyler now, Darren now?
No.
Darren prime,
yeah,
Tyler prime.
He made sure to make the distinction. This is your prime shape. You're in your prime. He's in his prime.
It doesn't matter because it's the same answer on both of them. You guys, if you play Madden, there's this thing called truck stick. And so what you do is you hit it.
You're not going to hit the spin move, the O?
No. There's very little change of direction in me. So if there's a spin involved, it's because something really bad happened.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, here's the deal. Like I watching Darren grow up, obviously didn't like him because he played for the Cowboys and I was a 49er fan. Yep. But I mean, I respect his game and the way he played it with the violence. And that was, the Ronnie Lotts, like those guys, the Steve Atwaters, those are the guys that I like grew up watching, and the violence that they played with, it was impressive to watch, right? And the only comparison that I would put for myself, like to Darren and those guys, is Cam Chancellor with Seattle, was the only guy. And
did you ever run him over?
I did, but he got me good on one too. But I think if it was on a goal line and hey, it's you or me, it's 1-on-1. There's no question. Yeah. Darren's on his back and he's got a cleat mark right on his chest.
Yeah, there's a couple of flaws in this scenario. Number one, if it truly is the 2-yard line, I said you're falling forward. There's no way he's knocking you back.
There's a weight difference, right? And I playing at 255, him playing at 225, right? There's just a physics. Now, I'll be honest, he's probably more explosive, definitely more explosive than I am, but I don't know. It's just there's a sheer weight. That's what I did. Like literally, that was my job, was take on 250, 275-pound linebackers. That was my job. Yeah,
and he was a frail 220-pound safety.
That's what I'm saying. Soft. But I don't know. I mean, again.
So you would score? Is what you're saying?
I would score. Okay. Here's the deal. Well, here's a flaw: is there's no fullbacks getting the ball on a 2-yard.
Well, yeah, on a 2-yard. One-on-one is not super likely.
Well,
and that's
the reality is you've got D tackles falling in, you got middle linebackers falling in. Even if he's up in the box and he's filling that gap hard, very rarely does especially on the goal line, because you've got D linemen that are all pinching in. You end up sliding out. So what happens, here's reality. Here's a picture. Is you get a dive, typically it would be to the right side, because quarterbacks, they're more comfortable handing it off that way. And I would go right at the outside leg of the guard. And then what's going to happen is the tackle, tight end, and potentially wing are all going to crash down. So what's going to happen is then you slide right outside of it, and then you get vertical. Yeah. That's typically the reality of what happens.
And if you're not a football fan, basically what he just said is he's going to have sweet feet.
Sweet feet.
And he's going to break Darren's ankles. Yeah. That's basically what he just said there.
Break his ankles and then run over him.
There you go.
And then start his lawnmower in front of his wife.
So you heard it here. I agree. I think Tybo's getting in over Darren. Sorry, D. Question 2 is from Blake Heath. This is going to take a little bit of thought here.
Okay.
That was a fun one, but we're diving into the deep end on this one. What are 3 things you can't live without. And you can't say food, family, or shelter. What are 3 things you can't live without?
3 things. My current state right now, I could not live without my zero-turn lawnmower.
You couldn't live without a zero-turn lawnmower? Okay.
No way. You kidding me? Mowing that? No way. Could not live without it.
That's such a dad answer. Our producer Elizabeth's over here just with like
just, who is this
face,
dude?
like, what in the world? Of anything in the world,
hey,
wait
till you get Elizabeth. I'm gonna have you up to the house. I'm gonna put you on that zero turn, and you're gonna be like, I get it.
I get it.
Get it. Partly because the zero turn is a meditation time for me. We talk about breaks.
Yep.
All I've got to worry about is straight lines. Like straight lines, it's amazing.
Okay. Yeah, you're starting to convince me.
So that's one.
Do you have your jorts on in this moment?
Yes, with white Nike socks and my Monarchs, my Air Monarchs.
Nice.
Yep. Tucked in shirt.
Okay, so that's one.
So 2, and I'm ashamed to say this, but it's energy drinks probably right now. I'm trying to kick it, but I probably right now I've tried to quit, and it's hard for me. So that's a reality.
Yeah.
And then 3 would probably. That's tough.
Yeah.
3 things.
I mean, obviously, we're taking care of the essentials, family, food, and shelter, but.
Yeah. Probably couldn't live without.
You're a big CrossFitter now.
I was literally, that's kind of where my mind was going. I don't know if you saw it in my eyes.
Your CrossFit box.
Man, and I was traveling for the last 2 weeks, and I got back in yesterday for the first time after traveling for a while. And it was like, I was a whole new person afterwards.
Oh, that's awesome.
Competition, man. I'm loving it right now. Body's starting to feel good again. So I would say working out.
You're looking lean and mean. You ready to roll?
Man.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
man.
good. All right, question 3 from Timothy Perkins. This is a 2-part question. Number 1, who has been your favorite podcast guest so far? We did I think we answered this on episode 50. It was a long time ago. So let's update that. Who's been your favorite guest?
So Jake Schick is definitely, he was episode 3, and I still remember him, and he actually just spoke at our retreat. As far as an episode goes, I really enjoyed, actually it's not surprising, Sal Frisella was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, Sal and Andy were both really good. And then one of the ones I've looked back on, maybe like at the time, I wasn't like, this is the best, but James Lawrence and Iron Cowboy.
Yeah.
And hearing his mentality, because we had him on the show like a month before he announced he was doing the 100 triathlons in 100 days. And he just completed it like when this airs like a week ago.
Yeah.
And now to kind of watch that and to see what he has, the mentality, I mean, the injuries that he battled on like the first week, he had like 90 days straight being injured, and he still showed up, still swam first thing in the morning, still went for a ride, and still ran a freaking marathon every day.
Incredible.
So that's looking back, that's still one of my favorites.
Those are all good ones.
What about yours?
I'm such a prisoner of the moment, so I think of the most recent ones, and this one hasn't aired yet. I don't know the scheduling just quite yet. It'll air in a couple of weeks, but we talked with Ethan Cross, and Ethan is a psychologist out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and his big thing is he terms it chatter. Basically, the voice in your head. What's the story you're telling yourself? Yeah. He just released a book. I'm actually almost done with it.
Yeah.
I didn't start it until after the interview.
Yeah.
And I wanted to read it based on that interview, and it's been awesome.
That's awesome.
And I've already started to apply some of the we'll actually do an episode on this soon. I've already started to apply some of the techniques that he was talking about in that episode of the chatter, the story that you're telling yourself in your head. It was awesome. I can't wait for you guys to hear that episode. So that was one that sticks out. Man, God, there's been so many good ones.
There's been so many good ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Matt Frazier, just because, obviously the fitness background, I'm super, but just the drive, the determination, that work ethic that he shows and is still showing even post-retirement or post-career. That was a fun one. Just because I'd seen him on TV, you know, from a distance, I'd have been a fan. So that was a fun one. He had a lot of good knowledge and good tidbits in his episode. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not just saying this because it's our podcast. Literally every guest, I've taken something away.
Yeah.
But the ultimate, I think the one that takes the cake for sure. We talked about this recently. Drew Robinson.
Yeah.
And it's literally every time I say his name, like this lump comes in my throat just because I think about what amazing impact he's making on the world right now. And if you don't know Drew Robinson, you don't know his story, go back. I forget what episode that is, but he is literally playing professional baseball right now with one eye. And the season's not going super great for him, but he's got one eye. Yeah. But beyond that, that's irrelevant. The impact he's making for people who struggle with depression and suicidal thoughts, that episode still sticks with me today.
Still, by far the most emotional, thought-provoking, impactful episodes. I agree with you. I agree with you on that one.
Second part of this question, and this is the podcast just as a whole. What's the biggest lesson you've learned from doing the podcast? Not necessarily from a guest or from a discussion, but just from the overall general, like, remember we tell the story all the time. We were in that break room back 2019, November 2019, just talking about how, you know, we wanted to do this. So what's the biggest lesson you've learned since that time?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is there's power in community, even just the three of us. But also like that extended community, these guests that we're bringing on, the connection you can have if you actually are transparent and you actually are vulnerable, right? And there's a line between being transparent and vulnerable and then just complaining, but there's the other side of it that's, look, like I'm being very real and I'm asking questions from a authentic place where I just genuinely want to know the answer and I want to know your thoughts. And that community, man, has been so powerful to me, and I think for you and Darren as well,
no doubt,
is the power that has brought and the therapeutic results that have come just from the conversations, right? Like there's no one that's came and just like fixed me and like, this is what you got to do. It's just the conversations, the things that I've learned, like the knowledge from other people's experiences. It's been incredible. And so it makes me really sad when people don't either have access or put them out there to have community, because it is so powerful as far as growth, as far as joy, as far as resilience. I mean, there's so many things that come from it that are just so incredible. And that's what I've probably taken away from this more than anything.
That's awesome. All right, last question, and this is specifically for you. When you look back on your time in the NFL, what lessons do you take from that time in your career? What lessons do you take from there and apply to today? Shelly Atkinson asked that question.
That's a great question. And this is something I think a lot of professional athletes struggle with, is recognizing that there are things that I learned and applied in my professional athletic career that I just don't really think necessarily apply to the next one. Because, you know, you may go from playing baseball to selling insurance, or you may go from playing hockey to a tech firm. You know, there's a ton that carries over. I think being reliable and being available are two things that athletes undervalue. And, you know, Darren says it all the time, right? What's the most valuable thing about a player is availability. Like, you've got to be available to play. If you're not there, or you're not willing to do a job, then you don't provide any value to the organization, whether business or sports. You know, so one of the things that I try my best to do, and maybe to a fault, is I will be available. I'll be there to work this project with you, or to go to this meeting, or to complete this task, or to do something, you know, that is needed from me. And it's something that I had to do because I had to be a long snapper. I had to be a backup tight end. I had to be, a third down running back. I had to be everything on special teams just to keep a job. I had to be there and be able to go in and complete the task when given the chance. Same to business is you've got to be ready to go, whether it's out of your comfort zone, it's something you haven't spent a bunch of time. You've got to be ready and available whenever your name is called. Yeah. That's one thing. I mean, there's 100 others,
sure
but that's one thing to me that is carried over that I've really tried to continue to expand upon and to feed that side of my personality.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. We did it.
Can you believe it?
Papa Darren wasn't here. We filled in. Hopefully.
Hey, did we hit record on this, by the way? Is this actually an episode?
Hopefully you didn't tune out after you found out Darren wasn't with us today.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I appreciate you. Thanks again. And we do brag time at work, and while Darren's not here because Darren would shoot it down because he always tries to hold Ben down. But appreciate you, man. Like, the work that you put into production, the time that you put into preparing episodes, and really just kind of putting it all together, man. Yeah. Appreciate you.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
I enjoyed the one-on-one time with you.
Yeah, it's great. My only request next time is that we share a chair and a microphone.
Well, yes. I mean, you can sit down and maybe I'll sit on the arm. These aren't real big.
They're
arms.
Not big arms, but I got big arms. So
that's
you
true.
can
Just cradle me.
That's enough. See you guys next week.